validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
Oh man, did it again. I don't know why it does that. I push the thing and then it just like, nope. All right, look, how y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. We are on our Sunday night. Whew. So we got a lot of stuff going for y'all. So FX Trader, if you're here, today's the day to ask all the wild left field questions because that's what today's show is about. Today's about questions and comments from the fans. If you got questions, I got answers. Yesterday we got cut short not because of the topic of discussion, but because I actually ended up with a client that I forgot that I had that was right at the 2 a.m. mark, 2 a.m. Eastern Standard Time mark on the show, and I was like, shoot, I normally run the show for like 3-4 hours, but I got to cut the show like an hour and a half early. But had I not had that the appointment there, I probably would have ran the show for 2 more hours because we were really doing a good conversation yesterday. So I really appreciate FX Trader with all the participation that he did on the show yesterday. That was very insightful. I mean, there were conspiracy theory style questions, but I mean, it was good questions, and I want to say because we were talking about, you know, we were talking about why your financial decision making skills compromises your ability to be successful, and then he was asking questions about how the government is responsible for people being broke and how the government is scamming people and this, that, and the third. And during that discussion, I was letting them know it's like, look, the government is a fictitious entity because it's like a 500 and something people who are making decisions on policies and rules and laws. They're not in the middle of the White House somewhere eating caviar, talking about how they're going to fuck over the average American person. They're paying attention to their own best interests. And the laws and rules and regulations that they make is for their best interest and the best interest of their lobbyists. They don't really care about the bottom 25% for the most part. Yeah, they do care about public issues, public affairs issues, but not all the time. They're not deliberately making laws to make people suffer. That's not what's happening. They are making laws to benefit somebody somewhere, but not to make people suffer. Now, when we're looking at, when inflation happens, because that was part of what we were discussing was like inflation. They're like, oh yeah, inflation's the government's fault. No, inflation is consumer spending problem. The more you're willing to buy stuff, the more people are willing to sell it to you. That's supply and demand. When they make the supply, the demand is you want it. Now, the government can regulate how stuff is sold, like no monopolies. And by diversifying monopolies, they reduce the quantity of capabilities for people to make unrealistic prices or unreasonable prices. Because if you can switch companies, then you at least have a competitive price. Now, we understand that while the laws are no monopolies, now we have zones of service where certain providers are still monopolizing certain areas because they're agreeing to only sell their product in certain regions. So certain providers, while they do have some crossover, certain providers have their territory and certain providers have their territory, and then they don't even compete with one another. They just agree, hey, let's all raise our prices unilaterally. Notice Samsung is 50 to $100 shy of an iPhone every generation. You're not going to see an iPhone 2 times more expensive than a Samsung where people buy Samsung because it's cheaper. And you're not going to see an iPhone cheaper than a Samsung simply because it's an iPhone. They're about the same price, you know? And a lot of the times, iPhone has hardware from the last generation of Samsung. So they're not even a different product. There's two different operating systems, two different softwares, but it's pretty much the same hardware, right? So you're buying the brand, and that's what everything is about. It's about buying the brand. We talked about that with the cars. We talked about the difference between gas and um, electric. Well, I even showed them the fact that we actually have a law that prohibits the ability to sell phones more than $799. But you see, the phone's price is 1,600, and you understand that if you're willing to pay 1,600, it doesn't matter what the law says. The law says that they can't force you to buy it for more than $700. But if you're willing to give them 1,600 for it, I mean, who cares what the law says, right? This is this is not the government messing people over. This is people messing themselves over because of personal decision making skills that you need it or you want it that much that you feel like you need it. You don't have a purpose for it outside of the fact that you're going to get external validation for having it. If you've got the latest iPhone and everybody who's an iPhone user recognizes that you've got the latest iPhone, every time you pull your phone out, it's a conversation piece. If you build a reputation of always having the latest cell phone, that's a conversation piece. That's your reputational status that you can afford to upgrade your phone every year, right? But again, that was part of yesterday's show. We were talking about the difference between showing wealth versus actually having wealth. Is that a lot of people stay broke or go broke trying to project the financial capabilities to spend as if they were wealthy instead of actually protecting their assets in a fashion where they have generational wealth, right? So here on this and that, we do not let the sun rise without going live, but we do not always start on time. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe, smash those reaction buttons, and then also hit the notification buttons so that you can be here as soon as we go live when we have updates and stuff to that effect. Now, we've got a lot of things going into the membership. I've been grinding on this to make sure that you guys are getting something every day in the membership right now. So it's been a good July because I don't believe I've missed one day of July so far. So we've had about 30 days worth of releases. There's a lot of stuff going on in the membership. So I ask you guys not only to like and subscribe and mash those reaction buttons and hit the notification buttons, but also go and check and see what's going on in the membership. Steven says they do say so. That old iPhone dude go upgrade is what they say. Well, true, but you've got people like, for example, I'm a Samsung user, so I'm going to tell you that you have an inferior product because you have an iPhone. I'm going to tell you to upgrade to a Samsung from an iPhone. Even if you have a 2026 iPhone, I would tell you that the 2025 Samsung is better than the 2026 iPhone, and then the 2026 Samsung is better than the 2025 Samsung in my observation. Now, somebody can argue with me the differ, but the fact is that brand wise, Android is a personal preference. Now, I can show you facts that like Androids are more customizable. They're less popular with hacking because iPhone is just iPhone. There's hundreds of Androids, so there's different variations of the algorithm. But you know, a phone is a phone is a phone. FaceTime is an iPhone exclusive feature, and if people get hacked on their FaceTime, their camera and their microphone is gone, and somebody else is wiretapping their conversation. um, we have video calling on Android, but it's not actually FaceTime. You can call it FaceTime, but it's just a video call, which is not necessarily the same hack algorithm. So while yeah, we could have our phones hacked, it's less likely to happen because hackers operate on a grand scale to get the most results with the least amount of effort, right? Um, But beyond that, what features does cell phones have these days that are really beneficial? We really need phone calls, text messages, and emails. That's all we really need. We don't use our cell phones to take notes. We don't use our cell phones to organize our files and our data and everything. Uh, we use it as a portable camera, recording stuff, video, live stream, taking pictures. That's it. So every year, all they do is improve the quality of the camera. 3D, HD, 4K, 10K. That's it. That's it. It's not. And then the malware. That's it. So they're not really doing much with the phone year over year. Special shout out to OG Kicks. But what they are doing is making a shit ton of money off of the phone year over year. So like I found out that the 2022 model for Samsung is not going to be included in the next update. I've got the 2023 model. So when will I buy another phone? Probably in 2028 when the 2023 model is no longer working, right? I had a Samsung A32 or A34 that was like an old model back in 2021, and I still have it in 2026. And they told me that it is no longer accepting updates in 2026. So I bought a Go 5G, whatever base model, almost like a BlackBerry kind of phone for 2026. So that when that phone officially no longer does what I use it to do, which is the only thing I use it to do is track my mileage on my insurance, then it will have served its purpose, right? Yeah, it's just a money grab. It's exactly that. It's just a money grab. So when we're talking about how are we going to make ourselves better in the future, like when we were talking about inflation over savings. Inflation only happens because people are willing to spend extra money to get that latest item, to get that name brand whatever. If people looked at certain things and said, nah, that's too high, when brand new cars went up $10,000 to $15,000 because of inflation, if the 75% of America was like, nah, I'm not buying that. That's too much money for the same shit that we got last year. I'm not buying that. And nobody bought cars, that $15,000 will go down because your 2027 would have no sales. And 2028, all of those cars would be marked down $20,000 because nobody bought it. Right? Then you would see brand new cars $15,000, $20,000 cheaper than what they were in 2025 because everybody protested buying cars because of the inflation on prices of cars. But that's not what happens. People want to look rich, so they're willing to pay that extra $20,000 to get that newer model car. That's freaking stalking them in their car because now the cameras are inside the cabin. They're voice recording everything. You're willing to spend so much money now. Like back in the day, We used to be worried about being wiretapped, man. If we could buy the equipment to scan our house and make sure that we ain't have no bugs in the house, and scan our car to make sure we ain't got no bugs in the car. Now you're spending an extra $20,000 so that the feds can have your car wiretapped. Like, what the hell? And I mean, the feds is not legitimately wiretapping your car. The manufacturer is wiretapping your car. But since you don't have no control over where the data goes once the manufacturer gets it, they can sell it to anybody, including the police. And that also means that certain scenarios, the vehicle can rat you out. I just seen a report, and I don't know how true it is, but I just seen a report where a Tesla turned in some kids that were doing a drive-by with some airsoft guns. They weren't real guns. They were out, but they were out there doing a drive-by with a toy gun, or I think it was like no, it wasn't a Tesla. It was one of those wave runner driverless cab things. But it's the same setup as Tesla, where it's an electric car that drives itself in a city where they were somewhere with like paintball guns, airsoft guns, something like that, where they were launching projectiles from the vehicle, and the vehicle turned them in. The vehicle brought them to the police, and the police arrested them from inside the car. And I'm sitting over here looking like that is where our future is going. Like, you ain't got to worry about them chasing you down and giving you no speeding ticket. The car clocked your mileage and said you going too fucking fast. They're just gonna mail you a speeding ticket. They'll probably get a pop up on your dashboard that says pay the speeding ticket now, or the car's gonna get shut off. Like, that's what people are willing to pay for in the future. Fuck that. I'm gonna be trying to buy a gas guzzler 8 miles to the gallon that don't got none of that technology in it, you know, because I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe in 40 years when I have my own chauffeur, then that might make sense. But right now, when I drive it myself, I'm not ready for that kind of technology. I want my privacy over convenience. That's what I'm looking at right now. But not a lot of people have that same mentality. And that's the reason why inflation still happens. Trader says, I like that you prepare for the end of the relationship. It's not if it ends, but when it ends. Well, okay, when it comes down, I'm glad you said that. Look, I'm not the kind of person that just believes that the relationship is going to end. I'm the kind of person that does whatever it takes to keep the marriage or the relationship to survive. But I also recognize that I've been in relationships where no matter how hard I tried, the other person deliberately sabotaged the relationship for the relationship to fail. Now, I'm not going to say that I didn't make mistakes in a relationship too, but I am going to say that when I was trying to make that relationship work, the other person was deliberately trying not to make that relationship work while not removing themselves from the relationship. And recognizing that all men have experienced that, and recognizing that if you get into a relationship with somebody and they're there for your stuff, not for you, when they start emotionally pulling away, you got to see those signs. But if they're there for your stuff, they're only there as long as they believe that they're going to have your stuff. They're not always going to respect you. They're not going to appreciate you. They're not going to do anything to make the situation better with you. They're going to enjoy whatever they can get out of the situation until you leave. Now, the problem is a lot of men who just don't want to be alone will accept that because at least she's not leaving. Fuck that. I would prefer for a person that wants to be here because she wants to be with me, regardless of how much shit I have. She wants to be here with me because of me. And then she's willing to contribute to the situation so that we can do better. That way we have more after I get with her than what we would have had before we met each other, not just because of what I did, but because of what she did. That is more valuable to me. However, when we're in these relationships, we're recognizing relationships are lasting less than a year and a half. If a long-term relationship is 3 years long, that's considered a long-term relationship. Then at the end of the day, you have to prepare for when this relationship doesn't work. When you have a marriage, 5 or 10 year marriage, and that marriage falls apart, you have to prepare for the marriage to fall apart. Let's look at this. You talk about how I prepare for a relationship to end before it even ends. Think about this. You get a car insurance with gap coverage in case your car gets crashed. If it gets totaled, the insurance company pays the difference on the on the car note so that you don't got to finish paying for a car that you no longer own. You're preparing for the worst case scenario. You get life insurance for when you die. You're preparing for when you die. You get health insurance for when you go to the doctor. You're healthy. You don't need a doctor, but you're paying for health insurance just in case you do go to the doctor, right? You have property insurance. If somebody slips and falls on your property, you don't expect somebody to fall on your property, but just in case they do, you're paying for property insurance. You have homeowners insurance. So if something happens to your house, you're not preparing for something to happen to your house. And a lot of times you be staying in that house 40 years, never have something happen to your house. But some people just had something happen to their house, not within the last 10 years. Like, shit, I'm glad I had that property insurance, that homeowners insurance, right? So it's not like I'm expecting or hoping for a negative result. What I'm expecting is that I make better decisions with curating a kind of partner that I'm going to be with so that that partner understands that you're getting in this for all the right reasons. Because if they're signing contracts like, no, 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 you're not entitled to shit until after you've done like 40, 50 years. But before that 40 or 50 years, you're walking in with the same amount of shit that you're walking out with, unless you're contributing to the fold. And we're going to contract out how you're contributing to the fold. In that dynamic, she knows that if I've got 5 houses and 30 cars and she don't get shit, she might get to use it. She might get to sleep in the house, but she's not entitled to none of that. If we divorce because she fucked up, she don't get shit. If we divorce because I fucked up, she don't get shit. If I die and it wasn't a murder, she don't get shit. If you make it look like an accident, she don't get shit. Because here's the thing: when you start talking about, oh well, die of natural causes, well, the basic bills will get paid for the first 12 months, but you're going to have to wait probably 2 or 3 years before after I die before capital gains start being released to the beneficiaries. When we start talking about the widow, and that would discourage her from killing me off, because if you killed me off and you get the money within a couple of months, then yeah, you could kill me off, wait it out. When you're not convicted, you're good. No, I want an investigation open up on my desk and make sure that they guarantee that it's natural causes. And then at the end of the day, like 24 months after it's been declared natural causes, that's when you get the money. Now it's like, well, fuck, I'm not going to get shit for 2 years after he's dead. Might as well let him die of old age. Let him change his mind and add more to the fold. It encourages them to be there for you, not for your stuff. He says, it's like jumping from an airplane and making sure that you have your parachute ready. Well, no, it's like, no, it ain't that's not even a good analogy. You're jumping from an airplane and you know that you're gonna fall. You're bringing a parachute so that you don't die, in hopes that you don't die. But it's gonna be more to the magnitude of putting your seatbelt on your car. The majority of the time that you drive your car, you're not getting into a crash. You wear a seatbelt just in case, right? And seatbelts are going to keep you from being projectile out the front glass. Seatbelts don't do nothing for side collisions. Seatbelts actually, depending on how the side collision happens, causes you more injuries than not having a seatbelt on. You get a broken collarbone from a side collision because a seatbelt snatched your neck and broke your collarbone. Right now, the fact is that when you're preparing for the end result, you understand that the whole way through, it's not about I'm preparing for the end. It's about I'm making sure that I preserve the stuff that you've got and stuff that I've got throughout the relationship. And then as you earn more, you're entitled to more. It's already documented. If something happens to me, it's already documented. If something happens to you, it's already documented. If we already got it contracted out, where in the case of my passing, that my family can't come and get my stuff, you will maintain possession of it, but you will not gain total control of it until a certain period of time after my death passes. At the end of the day, there's a document that says that my family can't swoop in and take everything that you and I built together. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that it's not just about, oh, well, if we break up, that I get the house and you get the car. It's about, well, if I die, my auntie can't come and take the house from you because she's the closest next of kin to me, and you and I wasn't married before I passed. Because wives have entitlements that girlfriends don't have, and if we was engaged, that don't count. If I die before we get married, my estate goes to my family, not my girlfriend, not my fiance. So if I got a contract that got her written in where she's guaranteed usage of my stuff until she has been with my stuff or my assets or me long enough to have some type of entitlement to it, At the end of the day, the contract says my family can't swoop in and take from her what she contributed to. That's another thing that protects your relationship. Because a lot of us who are not the only child who does have living relatives, we got people that's greedy in our family. And as soon as they find out, they never will fuck with you while you alive. But as soon as they find out that your ass is dying, here they come swooping in, trying to see what all they can get from you, right? But they wasn't there for you the whole time you was alive. They'll come swooping in, trying to see what they can get from you. So if you're in a relationship right now and you got a wife and some kids, especially if they're not your kids, if she came with the kids, so they're your stepkids, they're not blood related to you. If you got contracts put in place that protects those kids because you value those kids, you want to make sure that those kids have direct entitlement to your estate. You got to put that down on a contract somewhere when you're healthy, so that when you die, can't nobody come and say, "Oh, he wasn't in his right mind when he did that." No, I did that 5 or 10 years ago. I know what the fuck I was doing. Trader says, if the marriage turns bad and you don't have an exit, it's like, what is that? Serving in the French Foreign Legion. Well, that's actually a good analogy. If you don't have an exit plan before you get married, and the marriage ends up bad, because the marriage is bad, men are effectively in that march or die situation, because if we get divorced, she will take half of my shit. And that's where happy wife, happy life comes in at, because I get to keep all of the shit that I work for if I keep her happy. Because if she ever gets too dissatisfied, she's going to take either half of my shit or all of my shit. And then I have to start my life over. It is easier for me to submit to her bullshit than it is for me to throw away half of my shit. But if the paperwork was designed otherwise, she will have to show up and perform in order for her to be entitled to use my shit. And she would have to be here a specific period of time based on contractual agreements in order for her to be entitled to some of my shit. If I get her something because I want her to have it, that'll be written into the contract that that's her shit. So when she walk away, she will walk away with whatever I said she could have and whatever she brought, and we'll have that on a contract. That makes divorce easier. That gets rid of lawyers. That makes and everything is not ironclad. But if you've got 30 or 40 different contracts, y'all have been together for 30 years and y'all been doing y'all could have been married for 20, dating for 10, and been doing a contract every year since y'all got together. And all of the 30 addendums and a prenup, that's gonna be a pretty tight contract, right? Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. Happy wife, happy life. But that's terrible because at no point in that analogy is the man happy. And that's where affairs are going to come from. The man is not happy, but the woman is happy. And as long as she's happy, she's not going to make a situation worse. Now, the man might be content because there isn't chaos in his life, but he's not happy, right? All right, guys. So, what we're going to do today, we have Thursday, Sundays, our questions and comments from the fans. We cover different topics every night of the week. Um, Typically on Mondays, we have how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about on Monday. Make sure that you guys stay tuned for that. Then we have on Tuesday, we have different ways to make money, save money, and invest money. And then Wednesday, we have different countries around the world where we potentially live as well as invest money. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we give you information like personal improvement, self development, relationship topics, um, socialization negotiations, building your brand, raises, promotions, retirement, forced retirement, termination. And then we talk to you guys about your 20 and 30-year plan to help you guys understand why it's important and what to do to get there so that you can be prepared for the future. And this conversation that Trader's talking about right now is a perfect example of that, because if you're prepared for what's going to happen next, then you have a game plan. Not everything works according to plan, but you have a game plan. If you have how the divorce is going to work out, if you have how the separation before the marriage is going to work out, if you have, excuse me, the like if we get engaged, how does that work out? If you leave me at the altar, or if we break up before we get married, or whatever, if we have those details worked out, and it's the division of assets, right? We have that stuff worked out. we know that certain things, certain ways is gonna be divvied up a certain way, right? But that's the same as where's your money gonna come from to pay for your bills, whether or not you're gonna have in-home nurses and caretakers and shit. It's gonna be the same as if we're gonna have housekeepers and everything to that effect. It's gonna be the same as if you're trying to set up your retirement or if you're trying to set up generational wealth where your wife and your kids or your kids and your grandkids have something to fall back on so that they're not suffering after your pass. And how do you distribute the money? Do you give them a lump sum that they got to deal with, or are you going to issue them out monthly stipends? I think monthly stipends would be more effective because you're not spoiling them into um, living a wasteful life, and a monthly stipend would give them a guaranteed safety net of a basic standard of living. And if they want more than that, they got to get out there and go get it. But depending on where they're going to live, uh, depends on like what all you're going to give them. Because again, if you're the kind of person that has multiple houses in multiple states and they're all under the same trust, and the trust is paying for all the bills on the property, if all you're getting is like $2,000 a month worth of spending money because all the bills are paid for, you might have to pay for the car insurance and your phone bill and put gas in the car and buy your groceries. But if you got no bills, no rent, no mortgage, no lights, water, gas bill, no insurance, property insurance, nothing like that, none of the other stuff that people would normally have to pay that usually takes up 80% of their lifestyle. If all you had was $2,000 a month worth of spending money and all your responsibilities were covered, essentially you don't need much and you should be able to do a lot and you should be able to have a comfortable lifestyle. But if you want more than what that $2,000 a month worth of play money will get you, you go get you a damn job and go and take your ass to work and go and make something out of yourself. But if something happened where you lost your job, where you got injured, or whatever the case may be, this type of safety net would cover your base standard of living because all of your responsibilities would be covered under the trust if you're living on a trust property. So even if you were living on a trust property in California, if the trust property was covered by the trust and you had $2,000 a month worth of play money in California, that's not a lot of money in comparison to other places, but it is definitely a lot of money when it is discretionary spending. $24,000 a year worth of discretionary spending. It says an expat in the Philippines on $3,000 a month can afford two maids and a cook. You ain't never lying because them females is like $500 to $700 a month for 30 days for a woman to do whatever the fuck you need for 30 days. So you can get three of them females for $1,500 a month. The standard of living there is $2,000 by yourself. So if you had an extra $1,000, you would at least have two women working for you that do whatever you need, and your whole standard of living covered for $3,000 a month. Where a lot of what you got going on out of the first 2,000, the women would be saving you money on that, right? So shit, in America, you can't get a girl to respect you inside of a $3,000 a month income. If you told a woman that you was making 36,000 a year, she gonna be like, "Oh no, he a broke dude." But if you went to the Philippines and you told her, "Okay, well, I'll give you, you know, $500 or $600 a month, and I'll give you $500 or $600 a month, and y'all take turns," you know, 4 days out of the week I got this one, 4 days out of the week I got that one, or mornings I got this one, and evenings I got that one. Shit, you won't have no problems. You won't have no problems. And that's not what and people don't pay attention to stuff like that. But when you start talking about building your retirement, that's part of the things that you do. I just had a neighbor just moved to the Philippines just like last week. And the fact is that and he sold all of his stuff and bolted out. The fact of the matter is that if it's cheaper somewhere else, go somewhere else. If the same amount of money that you're getting in the United States can be utilized in another country, go somewhere else. Go somewhere else. If it's 30% of the cost of living, go somewhere else. Because your $50,000, $60,000 a year is like big boss money in a place where $25,000 a year is a lot of money, right? It ain't enough if you're in like Seoul or something like that, but you can go to places like Nagano, Nagoya, Osaka, and $8,500, you be doing good for the whole year. So if you was making $72,000 a year, you would be in a penthouse suite that's Americanized, right? It all depends on how you prepare for your future, right? All right, so today we're doing questions and comments from the fans. Like I said, I got a short list of some comments and questions and stuff. You guys feel free to ask your comments and questions about yourselves, what you guys want to have done, and I'll see what I can do about working out some of y'all, because I know some people come through with like any question under the sun, and then they'll start asking me fucking STEM topics, and I'll be looking at them like, even as a college professor, I can't answer every question off the top of my head because we can only retain so much information in a short period of time. But any question that somebody asks is a good question. I always put the response to it in the membership. So if you're looking for like an A grade question, like that's a damn good question kind of situation. You know, you got to go and look at the membership for the response. Now, let's go ahead and get started with some of these questions and see where we end up.
I still can't believe this is the man I married. Sometimes I sit here and ask myself, what on earth did I marry? When we got together, he didn't have much. I loved him anyway. I wasn't looking for perfection. I was looking for a partner. I opened my home, my heart, and my life to him. I stood
Nice.
beside him when things were hard. I carried more of the financial burden than I ever should have. I believed in
Nice.
him when he didn't seem to believe in himself. And this is how it ended. I found messages with other women. I found lies. I found betrayal. I found evidence that made me question whether I ever truly knew the man I married. Then, after everything I did for him, he left. He abandoned our marriage, left me to carry the responsibilities by myself, and somehow still found ways to speak to me with disrespect, as if I was the one who had wronged him. It's one thing to fall out of love. It's another thing to treat someone who's sacrificed for you as though they're disposable. That's the part one can't wrap my mind around. I keep replaying everything in my head, wondering how someone who called himself a man of God could handle another human being so carelessly. I don't expect anyone to be perfect, but I do believe our faith should be reflected in how we treat people, especially the person we promised before God to love, honor, and protect. Instead, I was left feeling used. Used for my stability. Used for my home. Used for my generosity. Used for my heart. And once I had served my purpose, it felt like I was discarded. I've spent so much time asking what I did wrong. Now I'm beginning to realize that maybe the better question is why I accepted so much for so long. No wife deserves to feel like she's beneath her husband. No woman deserves to be cheated on, lied to, abandoned, and then treated as though she's the problem. I'm grieving more than the end of my marriage. I'm grieving the man I thought he was. Because the man I believed I married would have protected my heart. The man I ended up with broke it. Has anyone else loved someone who became almost unrecognizable? How did you stop mourning the person you thought they were and finally accept the reality of who they chose to become?
Okay, so Steven says, what if she sounds like she needs more confidence? I don't think that she needs more confidence. I think she needs more accountability. She ain't telling the whole story. She already made it seem like she's doing too much for a girlfriend or a wife. You met the man and he ain't have enough work under his belt. He ain't have enough income in his situation before you married him. Then you married him, and you're still fitting the majority of the bill. Uh, uh, she's not going to admit, and most women don't, is that when the woman is the primary breadwinner, they talk to the man like shit. She's not discussing what's going on in his life that has him not working as much as she would prefer for him to do, because you have sometimes where the men are injured, out on disability. You have some situations where uh, the job that the guy qualifies for is not in the area where he's at. So it's harder for him to find a replacement job from the last job that he had. You have guys that stop using the manual labor jobs that they were going on and start going to college. and now they're chasing this 5 or 10 year path to change their life, and the whole time they're unemployed. There's a lot of reason why the guy doesn't have the kind of job that she wants him to have, but the fact is that um, if she's talking down to him, she's mistreating him, she's disrespecting him, she's rubbing it in his face that she makes more money than him, she's rubbing it in his face that he's not as valuable to her as she is to herself. At the end of the day, she's creating the type of environment that makes a man want to leave. A man is going to leave because he's being disrespected. He's not going to leave because he's done using you. Because let's be real, she's been paying the bills the whole time. So how is he quote unquote done using you if your ass is still paying the bills? It's not like he swindled you out of your savings account or swindled you out of your inheritance or swindled you out of your car and your house and everything to that effect. He got tired of the way he was being treated in the house when you was a primary breadwinner, and he left your house and went with somebody who don't treat him like shit. That's pretty much what happened. Now the women don't want to accept that particular logic. Yeah, there are men that are going to do just like women and use the other person. But when she says, "Oh well, God fearing people and treat people the way other people want to be treated," and blah blah blah, if she was Corinthians 1 through 31, treating him a certain way, and he reciprocated that, and she didn't like the reciprocation, at the end of the day, you cannot say that he is pot calling kettle black wrong for how he's treating her when she was treating him the same way. You know, um, and then again on top of that, she's not talking about the narrative that he gonna go and cheat on her with somebody else and don't get on the damn nerves, but he gonna come back to his wife because that's his wife. Not because she's got a job, not because she's paying all the bills, because his heart is with her and that bullshit, but his patience is with somebody else. It doesn't make it right, but she's trying to mourn the divorce or mourn the relationship or whatever the case. There's no mourning that. Women emotionally remove themselves from a situation before men. She knew that he wasn't happy long before there was another woman involved. She knew there was another woman involved long before there he ever told her about the other woman or left her for the other woman. She just didn't care. She had no value in him enough to say, you know what? Because ultimately she believed that he was so worthless that no other woman would want him. So she wasn't gonna improve how she treated her man because who would want to do that ain't got no job? Apparently somebody. And once the man upgraded to a woman that would treat him better for his current situation, he left. And men typically migrate from relationship to relationship based on respect, not based on how much money the woman's got. Women migrate from man to man based on how much money the man's got. Plus, it's gonna, in addition to consider how much he's willing to spend on her, because he can have millions of dollars, but if he's not gonna give her a penny, she ain't gonna stay with him. He can have, $50,000, but if he's gonna give her the whole $50,000, she'll stay with that dude, right? So it depends on how much he got versus how much he's willing to give, and if it's enough for what she want to do with her life, she'll migrate to a different dude, right? Both of them come with a little lack of respect, but um, what I would tell her, first thing that you got to do is you got to change the way you treat people. Second thing you got to do is you got to stop ignoring those red flags. If you got with somebody that wasn't carrying their weight, you need to figure out why. You can't just love them for the sake of loving them. You have to be able to understand, can I grow with this person? Because I can love you from a distance. I got brothers and sisters that I can love and not have live in my house with me. So at the end of the day, you cannot turn off your common sense just to be in a romantic relationship. So that would be my advice to her: is to learn from her lack of contribution into this relationship, learn from her failures to perform in this relationship, then pay attention to her non-negotiable expectations for behavior in her next relationship, on top of allowing things to happen that shouldn't be allowed. And it's not about bossing up on a man, because I had a couple women that I talked to today where, when we talk about how men are supposed to lead and women are supposed to follow in the traditional sense, and women are like, no, if a man gives an instruction and a woman is supposed to lead, that goes both ways. So when a woman gives an instruction, a man is supposed to follow that. No, that's not how it works. When you find a man that is supposed to be the leader of your pack, he dictates what we're doing, when we're doing it, and how we're going to get it done. You can put your 2 cents in and make recommendations, but you are not leading. You are following because you selected a leader. If you don't want him to lead, if you want to lead, you have to be okay with a follower. Women are not okay with a follower. Women are not attracted to men that follow with no ambition and no drive and no leadership skills. So the fact is that the average woman that wants a strong, confident, assertive, independent, driven man is going to have to do what that man tell her to do the way he tells her to do it. Now, that don't mean that you're going to feel like an equal by bossing him around too, because when you work for your employer signs your paycheck. The money that you get from your employer is far less than the money you get from your husband, and you will do what your employer tells you to do the way your employer tells you to do it. If he tells you to wash that table standing on one leg, you're going to wash the table standing on one leg. Now, how many people tell their boss what to do? The average person does not. The average person, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, do whatever the fuck they're told to do. The average person will come in early, stay late, put in overtime. You got some folks that are so loyal to the job that they will work off the clock for the boss out of loyalty to the boss, but you won't make your husband a sandwich at the house after he done put in 18 hours of work to pay your bills. The fact is that if she ain't got enough respect for the man, she's going to believe that she's in charge of the whole scenario. But that's not what she got him there for. A man that is on your level is a man that can do for you what you can do for yourself, which means that if you was carrying the weight by yourself and now you got this man in here carrying the weight for you, you don't feel like your life has elevated because you're at the same economic standard of living, but your life has elevated because you have less responsibilities. You're doing less, right? You could have did that yourself. But just like you could have got on that box and got it off the shelf, your husband got it off the shelf for you. So now you don't got to reach for nothing. Just like you could have drove certain places, your husband drive you everywhere. You don't got to pay attention to the road. Just like you could have organized the bills and stuff, your husband taking care of all the bills. You don't got to pay attention to the bills. He's taking responsibilities off of your plate, the same responsibilities you could have did for you. That's your equal. Now, a man that's going to move you into a more expensive standard of living, more expensive cars, bigger house, fancier neighborhood, uh, 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 bigger social network. He is elevating your lifestyle in a way that you could not have done for yourself. That's not a man that's on your level. That's a man that's above your standards. Women are going to call that man an equal to her, but what woman believes that if the man is 25% of her value going to dictate terms in her life, most women are going to say, fuck that shit. He better bring in at least half. So in the same dynamic, it's not 50-50. If you're going half on the bills and then he's spending all that extra money on your lavish gifts and everything, it's 70-30 at best. So if you're not bringing half to the table because he's taking care of you and you taking care of yourself, then at what point are you supposed to be dictating terms on an equal platform as the primary breadwinner of the household? That makes no damn sense. So at the end of the day, when you elect this man, that gives you the capability to quit your job whenever you feel like it, not be responsible for shit around the house, not be responsible for shit inside a relationship. When you have that freedom to choose to quit, even if you don't, you have freedom to choose to quit. That's the man that you shut the fuck up and do what he tell you to do. You respect that man. Because at the end of the day, what man has the privilege of quitting his job and living off his woman and still being respected as a man at the same time? It don't happen. No man respects another man who ain't got no damn job, and no woman's gonna respect a man who ain't got no job. Steven, me and you were talking about certain dudes like a couple of weeks ago, and every time the dude didn't have a good enough job, first person jumped in. Steven like that man's a loser because socially that's how that's how we see it. Men must perform all the time, right? Women do not have to perform. So when women fall into the masculine role where the women have to perform, even when the man doesn't, the women feel bitter, but welcome to being a man. And we can't complain about it. We get shamed for complaining about it. But that's part of being a man is being responsible for everybody else's shit. And I'm not telling you that you're wrong either. I'm not gonna tell you that you're wrong either. I'm telling you, your opinion, my opinion is the same way that he ain't got no fucking job. He should have did better about his shit. But the fact is that that is socially expected that men must always perform. Women are never responsible or required to perform. They choose when they want to perform. That's why they say, oh, the women are fluid. No, that's because you flake out of your responsibility when you want to, and you stand on business when you feel like it, but you only stand on business to get your way, and you flake out of responsibility to get your way. You don't stand on business for the sake of your husband. You don't stand on business for the sake of your boyfriend. You stand on business to dominate your boyfriend, and you stand on business to dominate your husband. But then when it comes down time to do something that you don't want to do, no, I'm a girl. I'm not supposed to do that. You're a man. You're supposed to do that. That's exactly the excuse it is. It's not, I'm not physically capable of picking that up, or I don't have enough energy to do that right now. It is because you're a man and you're present, it's your responsibility. But when she wants control, I'm a woman. I'm my own boss, bitch. I do whatever I want to do. I'm in my feminine energy. It's the same dynamic. You're again saying that our roles have not changed, but all of a sudden the authority shifts to you when it's something that you want to benefit from, but the responsibility shifts to me when you don't want to take, and that makes no sense. The authoritarian person is the one that is going to take responsibility when the shit hits the fan. That's going to be the one that does collateral damage. That is the one that's going to minimize catastrophe. That's going to be the one that has to take the brunt of the bullshit. That's going to be the one that gets rewarded when shit is successful. Same position. You can't bounce in and out of that position. You can't show up for work just to get bonuses and raises, but never show up for work and do any fucking work. Right? You gotta understand that. So women are salty a lot of the times, and I don't know what to tell them because I mean, if you pick the dude that you respected and paid attention to the decisions that he made, and you respect his decisions, then when he tell you what to do, you do what the fuck he say. Because if you're willing to follow instructions for $15 an hour, why are you not following fucking instructions for $75,000 a year income? Why are you not following instructions for an extra $50,000 a year income? Right? Well, just be real. Just be real. Because you're not putting in double overtime at the house. You talking about what the fuck you're not gonna do it. All right, let's check in with the next one.
I'm 23, and I think I accidentally ruined my relationship over something I thought was
Accident.
harmless. My
Cheated.
boyfriend is 25. We've been together for about 3 years, and until recently, things were honestly really good. We don't really fight. We have similar hobbies and interests, and I genuinely thought this was the healthiest relationship I'd ever been in. Besides some
Probably was.
previous issues that for the most part have worked through. A few weeks ago, one of my coworkers asked if I wanted to grab drinks after work with a group of people. My boyfriend couldn't come because he was working late, so I went by
Mm,
myself. It wasn't anything
mm,
crazy, just food, a couple of
lies.
drinks, and everyone talking. At some point, one of the guys there, who I'd only met a few times, started flirting with me. I shut it down
Bullshit.
pretty
Time ago.
quickly, but I didn't leave because I didn't think it was a big deal. The next day I told my boyfriend about it because I didn't want him hearing it from someone else. I figured he'd appreciate that I was honest.
Hell
Instead,
no.
he got really quiet. He asked why I stayed after the guy started flirting with me, and honestly I didn't have a good answer other than I didn't want to make things awkward for everyone else. He also asked why I never mentioned this coworker before, and I told him that I've briefly met him in the past but didn't know him very well. But he just rolled his eyes at me and said he was going out.
Lying.
Since then, things have just felt off. He's not angry or yelling at me. He's still kind, still texts me good morning, still asks how my day was, but I can tell something changed. He doesn't joke around as much, and he doesn't seem as relaxed with me anymore. A few nights ago, he admitted that while he believes I didn't cheat, he just thinks, in his words, I don't think you crossed a line physically. I just think you don't understand my boundaries. That hit me harder than I expected, because I don't even know if he's wrong. Looking
He's
back,
not.
I can see why staying there might have looked disrespectful to him, even if I
Ain't
genuinely didn't
nobody
have
want
bad
that.
intentions. At the same time, I also don't think I actually did anything inappropriate. I
Who did?
apologize for making him feel that way, but he said he needs time because trust isn't only about cheating, it's also about whether your partner makes choices that make you feel secure. Now I'm
Yep.
stuck wondering if I actually did anything wrong and how to move
Yes, you
forward.
did. All right. So look at this real quick. And I see y'all jumping into the comment section. Make sure that y'all like and subscribe. Throw your comments in here about that if y'all heard what was going on. So she lying talking about some she ain't know this dude that well, blah 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 blah. They met one another enough on the job for the dude want to smash. So At the end of the day, she's going out with the squad without her man. And yeah, I understand that she should be able to socialize with people without her partner being there. But at the same time, I also believe that there's supposed to be a limit to this shit. Okay. Now, we're gonna flip the script first. If it was a boyfriend going and hanging out with the squad, and one of the female coworkers was trying to smash, a woman would have said, "Take your ass home. Don't even stay." Soon as the person sitting next to you try to grab your junk, it is time for you to fall out of the chair and crawl back to the car and speed away like a zombie apocalypse and just avoid that situation altogether. You're not giving a shit about how somebody else feels about it in that situation, because the awkwardness was that your supposed to be platonic coworker has just made a sexual advance towards you, which is going to make the workplace awkward if you're not going to reciprocate. So there's no reason for you to give a damn about it being awkward if you say, "I'm uncomfortable because you just jeopardized my relationship with that advancement and I am leaving now as a result of that," which sets a standard. Because if I don't complain to HR in the morning, if we are ever in the same place at the same time during a business party or whatever the case may be, that you're not going to try that shit again. Now, let's flip it back to the dude real quick. Let's see, Aztec. Special shout out to Aztec. He said they know each other long enough to talk about this and that. You ain't lying, bro. You ain't lying. So that's the whole thing. Because she not going to admit, but the dude that was flirting with her is probably the one that invited her to go to the damn thing in the first place. He probably had two or three colleagues to come with him, and so that she wouldn't feel uncomfortable, it was probably two or three girls, the dude that wanted to talk to her. If there was one other dude there where they could have partnered off 3-3, that's what it was. She, oblivious to the situation, assuming the group of coworkers is going to this event together. The group of coworkers is going to this event together to smash. Now, if it would have just been a girls' night where all the girl colleagues would have went out, yeah, no problem. Go out there, do you, but do you responsibly. But when it's mixed gender going out, some of them dudes want to smash some of them chicks in the group. In Asian culture, this is normal for them to go and hang out with one another, strictly platonic, and nobody have no feelings for nobody. But in American culture, dudes don't go places and spend money with women if they're not trying to sleep with those women. They just don't. So if the boss was paying and the boss was taking the crew out, then the men would come and hang out because they're getting free stuff. But for the men who work for the boss to go out with the women who work for the boss, that's because those men wanted to smash the women on the job while they were off the clock. So when she went without paying attention to the fact that dude wanted to smash. Now, when she got there and dude got inappropriate, that's when she was supposed to leave. She stopped him from flirting with her in front of other people, but she did not stop him from flirting with her in the future because she stayed with consideration for his feelings, not consideration for her boyfriend's feelings. And that's the reason why she fucked up. She smash time, exactly. Or at least in the front seat, in the back seat, behind the building, in the bathroom stall somewhere. They trying to do something. They trying to do something. Not now, dude is gonna try to go somewhere and spend money in a group with women if they're not trying to smash those women, unless it is family. We'll go places with our sister and our cousin and our auntie and our grandma and our mama because it's a family function. But when we go in places with women we don't know, we go in places with our best friend, that's women we want to smash because men don't make friends with females that we don't want to smash. Not one dude has an ugly chick as a best friend. The dude always got this 10 out of 10 looking supermodel. She thick in the waist, pretty in the face kind of stuff that we, for some reason, they not dating, but she's always around kind of shit because she likes the emotional attachment. He wants to smash. That's how it always is. She's not interested in him for whatever reason. He could be a man whore to her, and she's just not attracted to that. but he's attracted to her. So she gets the attention from him because he gives her boyfriend treatment and he wants to smash. So as long as she's willing to hover in his presence, he's going to hover in hers. And the day that she caves and lets him crack, that's it. But no dude is friends or hovering around a female and not want to smash. So when she was invited to a group function with the crew and her man wasn't coming, she should have said no. But because she went, the line was drawn when somebody made a pass. It should have been like one of them awkward K drama moments where like, ooh, and I didn't mean to. And then she, oh, I'm sorry, blah blah. And I'm bowing, 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 and get the fuck out of Dodge. That's what happens, right? It never leads to he almost kissed me. It never leads to, making out in the back room and then I stopped it or anything like that. It is, man, he said something slick. I got the fuck out of there. That's how it's supposed to be. Because most women would agree that if a dude would have been in a fucking Walmart trying to get ramen noodles off the top shelf and a female came up and asked him a question that he is supposed to run up out that aisle and leave the ramen noodles behind. She could have just been asking him to get one off the top shelf for her because he was already up there, and women would expect the dude to disappear because a woman talked to him, not because she flirted with him. So there is no dynamic. Since the requirement for men is so strict with social interactions with women, there's no dynamic where it's acceptable for her to allow it to get that far and stay because she can't control what other people say and do, but she damn sure can control if she stay there, right? You walk into a room full of naked women that you didn't know they were in there naked. You're not supposed to linger in that room. You're supposed to realize that you're not supposed to be here and immediately leave the room. The what you did wrong was once you realized you were in a compromising situation, you stayed. That's what you did wrong. Soon as you realize this is wrong, this is awkward, this is inconvenient, this is at the very least a tad bit uncomfortable for somebody in involvement. Not necessarily for me. I could not give two shits. But if you're not comfortable with what just went down, it's time for me to go. I should not linger. Right now, men have that dynamic a lot more than women because women will put a man in prison because she don't feel comfortable around a man with a pulse. But at the end of the day, women are supposed to behave the same way. It's like, look, if you did something that made a dude uncomfortable, it's time for you to get the fuck up out of there. And if he did something to make you uncomfortable, it's time for you to get the fuck up out of there. That's what it is. So she said, oh, her boyfriend ain't mad at her. No, he pissed off. He just ain't told you nothing. He's different because he's mad as fuck about you. You didn't technically cheat. You did ask the dude to stop, but you also let the man know that it was okay because you did not remove yourself from the situation. Picture this. You take your kids to the stove, and your kids start wilding out in the stove. Do you just leave them in the stove wilding out, or do you take their ass home? Most parents take their ass home and potentially beat that ass. Now, anytime a behavior is inappropriate, your situation is done. What our parents used to tell us on them long ass car rides, don't make me turn this car around and take us back home because I do it. So since that's in our core upbringing, Gen Xers, baby boomers, since that's in our core upbringing, don't make me turn this car around. At the end of the day, if you're in a situation where anybody misbehaves, my time here is done. Time to go. If you want to enjoy my presence longer, you must behave because I am not going to be affiliated with your negative behavior. And I told y'all this before, standing on non-negotiable expectations for behavior. So if that was me and I was invited out, I got to call my partner and let them know where I'm at and see if they're willing to go. So since you already know that I'm in a relationship because I'm checking in with my spouse, you shouldn't be trying to make a pass at me. While I'm out there hanging out with the people, I should be able to let my spouse know I made it. I should be able to let my spouse know that I'm okay while I'm there if I'm going to be there for a couple of hours. So you should see me checking in with my spouse. If you come over and talk to me about anything other than what the fuck is on this menu, it's time for me to go home. Now you thought I was gonna stay later. Yeah, should have behaved. All right, let's touch base with the next one.
I
Yeah,
am
but what?
31, and I am having thoughts about divorcing my husband, who's 34, and leaving our 14-year relationship. Looking for advice. Started dating junior year of high school, 2012. Went to college together. He's my first and only everything relationship, kiss sex. He had previous relationships in high school and had experience in all of the previously mentioned areas. Married in 2022. Dash 2 kids under 6 years old. We started dating when we were in high school. We dated all through college with some bumps along the way. I experienced depression, didn't know that's what it was at the time. He cheated on me through text with an ex. Nothing physical, but still super painful conversations that I found after we were engaged. We worked on things after college and found adult jobs. We were not technically together because I did not know what I wanted after the cheating. But we still slept with each other and were with each other almost daily. At this time, I was working at a restaurant and was being pursued by various potential partners, but always declined any advances because I still felt loyal to him. Found out he was also flirting with and entertaining dating a co-worker of his one-on-one lunch dates, talking to her about dating, etc. We talked about this and chose to continue our relationship. He still betrayed my trust at that time by continuing a texting friendly relationship with her, even though he knew it made me uncomfortable. Fast forward about a year later, and we got unexpectedly pregnant with our first child. Had to grow up and live on our own. Both were super happy to be having a baby. Our relationship continued on autopilot, as they typically do with a newborn, and we were in a good space, so we wanted to try for another. 2023, and we were blessed with another baby. 2024 to 2026 have been a challenging and enlightening time for me. Even though he wants to try for another child, I want to stop at 2. Mostly because of realistic financial reasons, but also because I can't fathom having another baby with him. My mind will not let me accept the possibility, LOL. Over the last year, I have been doing a lot of introspection and have been constantly seeking out resources that I try to use to help me navigate what I truly want out of life and a partner/relationship. Like many women, I have been given the vocabulary of the mental load and have realized how one-sided many things in our relationship are. Everything from completing the majority of the housework and laundry, to cleaning up after the animals, to potty training the kids, to setting up and keeping doctor/dentist appointments for the kids, to keeping all the paperwork and appointments for our child with high functioning autism. All of those responsibilities are completed by me. I do recognize that I am over-functioning. Also, since we have had the 2 children, we have had more of a dead bedroom situation. Sometimes going weeks between any activity. I acknowledge that I am the one who typically turns him down. There have also been times when I have participated in obligatory sex to ensure that he is satisfied, because if he can't be with his own wife, then who is he supposed to be with? His language, not mine. There have been times when I would just lay there and let him finish, and after I would cry when he could not see. I let him know how terrible that felt, and he has been respecting my no's a lot more. But I still feel like we sometimes have sex to keep the peace. Lastly, this past year I have been doing a lot of self-reflection and thinking about what is important to me, and I feel like our values are become more apparently different. I am getting more into spirituality, ego recognition, shadow work, philosophy, as well as actively looking at ways to participate in our local community, mutual aid orgs, volunteering, etc., and trying to schedule more time for myself, exercising, prioritizing relationships with sister and friends. I feel that a lot of his values at this time revolve around climbing the ladder at work. I think he likes to feel important. Going to the gym, he doesn't like feeling skinny since he was skinny as a young adult, and buying things. He wants to get a new sofa/new carpet/new sound system. We are saving for a house, but every time he talks about it in my deepest parts, one feel hesitant and not sure that I want to take that big step with him. He also goes to the gym for about 2 hours, usually 5 days a week, and I am left doing the bedtime routine alone most nights with the kids, toothbrushing, pajamas, bedtime. This
Yeah.
really bothers me because I envisioned making dinner with my husband and eating together as a family and getting the kids to sleep together. Is it any
Hmm.
wonder that I don't feel connected enough slash resentful toward him to be intimate when we barely even talk to each other throughout the day? We both work full-time jobs and I make dinner for the kids when I get home and he makes his pre-gym meal. He is usually eating his pre-gym meal while I eat our dinner with the kids. He eats the dinner I made when he gets back from the gym or makes
Hmm.
his own dinner when he returns if I only made the kids dinner. When he is
Hmm.
eating, he is mostly on his phone or playing video games on his iPad. All this is to say, I feel incredibly lonely in this marriage. I know that he has expressed that he does too. I feel like I am doing a lot of work to understand relationship dynamics and understand myself more as well, in addition to what my values in this life are. The one thing that keeps me thinking and thinking instead of taking any action is our kiddos. He is a great father and he is not a bad person. I just don't necessarily think that we are each other's person. Our kids are so young, and my neurodivergent one would have an especially difficult time with any changes in routine, let alone us splitting up and being in different households. I watch so many stories on TikTok about women who are in the same place as me, or
Here we
women
go.
who have decided to leave their relationship due to similar
Hmm.
circumstances. The thing is that if we are not right for each other, wouldn't it be better to leave now? Instead of years from now when we truly resent each other? The main things I am
Hmm.
afraid of are my children's reaction slash disruption to their lives. I think it will be difficult, but I will be okay financially and just the routine of things. However, I can't stop fantasizing about having my own little apartment with my own decorations and being with my kids on my own if we had split custody. I feel like it truly would not be a big difference to not have him in my life at all. Also, it would
Why?
be a bonus that I wouldn't have to worry about sex and him constantly grabbing at my boob slash, but to cop a feel. I sometimes like it better when he is gone for a few hours and I don't have to worry
Thank
about
you.
someone else's reaction to
I
me.
blame
Has
TikTok too.
anyone ever felt this way in their marriage? Has anyone stopped liking their partner in a romantic sense and been able to come back from that? Any advice offered would be appreciated. Sorry for the crazy long post.
Okay, so she tripping off the woodwork, bro. About the bullshit. I blame TikTok out there because notice she's talking about, oh, I'm ego and this, that, and the third. And basically, she's watching some fucking TikTok reels where the women are encouraging other women to sabotage their marriage. Her biggest problem is that she believes because she was raised in a family where um women are supposed to not be responsible for their own shit. That's really the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem with, and she has built relationship resentment over her entire relationship because she believes that she's not supposed to be doing the stuff that she's doing, at least not by herself. But all of the stuff that she described are things that really define a valuable woman in a relationship. These are the things that the women used to do in the 70s and the 60s, the 50s, and the 40s. The reason why men were so successful was because women were doing that exact same shit, balancing the books, scheduling appointments, setting up general maintenance, handling the money, taking care of the kids, toothbrush, bedtime, this, that, and the third. Sometimes she cooked for him, sometimes she don't. She let that slip, but he ate her food after he came back from the gym, so that her food would be the last thing in his stomach before he went to bed. He got a little light something before he went to the gym, but he made sure that he ate her shit after he came back. So his day ended after he came back from the gym. Now, if she wanted to set it up where they had dinner together, she could push dinner back a little bit and have him go to the gym a little earlier so that he could come back from the gym in time for dinner. Take a shower, come sit down and have dinner with the family. But if she's going to specifically say, oh, well, dinner time is at 6 o'clock, he get out of work at 5, go to the gym from 6 to 7. When he get out of the gym, he get back to the house at 7:30, 8 o'clock. She's setting up a scenario that's unsuccessful for him to be there where she wants him to be. But if she got the kind of kids that can have dinner time at 8 o'clock and he's going to be home at 8 o'clock when he get back from the gym, dinner time is at 8. You know, um, she talking about the resentment that she had from the beginning of the relationship. If before you had your first child with the dude, before you married the dude, if he had two different scenarios where he was talking to women and you didn't like that, you should have left then. But after the first kid and now the second kid, you can't sit here and say, "Oh, I don't want to have a third because of him. It ain't because of him, it's because of you. You bitter. You don't want to start over. You're tired from the two kids that you have. You don't want a third. You probably just now getting out of the diaper phase and you don't want to start that shit over again. I completely understand. But it's not your resentment of him. Well, actually, it is your resentment of him, but it's not your resentment of him because of him not doing right as a man. He's chasing his career so that he can make more money off of his career so that he can take care of you and the kids. So she thinks that he ties his identity to his job and he's selfish about expanding on his career. But if you get a promotion on the job, you get a raise. If you're getting performance bonuses, you got to do more on the job so that you can make more money. All that extra money comes back to the house and goes to the wife and kids. He doesn't have extra money because he makes more money on the job. His wife has extra money because he makes more money on his job. He's going to have to spend the money that he spends on himself that he normally spends on himself. He's not going to upgrade his spending on himself because he got a promotion. If he got a promotion, now she's got diamonds. Now she's got Gucci. Now she's got Juicy Couture. Now she's got diamonds. Now she's got Chanel. Now she's got red bottoms. Now she's got a brand new car. Now she's got a new cell phone. Now the kids got private school. That's what men do. Men don't do more for themselves when they get extra money. They do more for their wife and kids when they get more money. So if he's chasing his career and trying to climb the corporate ladder, he's showing her that he wants to be a better man for his family. She don't appreciate that. But if he's going to spend most of his time at the job trying to be a better man for his family, that means that the house responsibilities are for whoever the fuck is at the house. She's at the fucking house. But she got so much free time at the house. She complaining about how this is so hard. She got so much free time at the house and she's watching social media. You see what Steven said? I blame Steven said I blame time. That's the problem right there. She's watching social media where women are sitting over here hating the men that they got with, the man that they chose, no matter how bad or good the man was when they first met him, they stayed with him. And now 5 or 10 or 15 years later, you seen what she said, 2023, that's 3 years ago. 2020, that's 6 years ago. You're telling me y'all have been together 14 motherfucking years. And now you want to rethink your position? Baby, if you lasted 14, you can last another 10. You might as well just stop with the bullshit. And instead of doing these self-ego, maniacal whatevers, get you some therapy, individual therapy, make you a little extra money on your job, get you some fucking couples therapy, separate from your individual therapist. So it's two different people that you're paying. And you work on your relationship. That's what you do. You work on getting off of your chest any childhood traumas, any past traumas from your current relationship that led you to resent the relationship that you're in right now. Because a lot of people have this level of self sabotage where you don't feel like you deserve such a perfect lifestyle and you must fuck it up so that you can feel like you're where you belong, which is in a fucked up relationship. Then a lot of the times you develop extra resentment because now she's blaming an unhappy, alleged unhappy relationship on the fact that the kids are there. You got to understand, if mommy and daddy are not happy with each other, that is not a healthy relationship for the children. So is it better for y'all to be happy and getting along with one another while living in separate houses like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, or for y'all to be having Ike and Tina engagements in the house in front of the children? Instead of y'all not being able to respect each other, love each other, express that affection towards one another in the house with the kids, live in separate houses and at least show mutual respect with one another in front of the kids. And if you're going to be in separate houses, y'all don't even have to get a divorce. That's the other part. Y'all don't have to get a divorce. Y'all can stay married and just live in separate houses for 2 years or whatever and just spend a little bit of time apart. If this has been your high school sweetheart, a divorce would tell you 12 months in a separate house and get your shit together before y'all start talking about divorce. So you go get you an apartment, go live somewhere else. Your husband probably gonna pay for the apartment because he care about you, right? Yeah, there's an ungrateful bitch over here trying to but you'll live somewhere else. And then, y'all share the children instead of trying to throw in the husband on child support, share the children. You take care of the kids when the kids is with you. Let him take care of the kids when the kids is with him, and y'all just share the children. Y'all can rekindle your shit and then move your ass back in. Marriages happen like that. Y'all been together 14 years. Y'all can spend 2 years on a sabbatical and then get back into the same situation and be married for 30 years. You can't tell me that every 50-year marriage didn't have 6 to 12 months worth of separation in there somewhere, especially with 2 or 3 different affairs that happened over the course of the 30 years. It could have all been from one person. It could have been 2 from one person and 1 from the other person. But a 30-year marriage, while it has its problems, it lasts for 30, 40, and 50 years because even the most unhappy person in the marriage puts forth the extra effort to work on the marriage. But if all you want is out, nothing he can do can fix that. But the one thing she's not doing is communicating with him, right? She has what she wants, but she don't think that he know. Well, why the fuck not? If I want you to know something, I done told you, I done text you, I done wrote it on the refrigerator, I done got sticky notes all over the fucking house. You know what the fuck I want from you. Before you can pull food out the refrigerator, what the fuck I want is written on the damn refrigerator at eye level. You know what the fuck I want from you. So the fact that it ain't done, we need to talk about that. Because there's no reason why what I want didn't get done because you knew. But if you're keeping it to yourself and you're hoping that your boyfriend just catches on, you're hoping that your husband just figures it out. Men are inconsiderate and women are selfish. A man never thought bullshit that you didn't say was important. And women don't care. So at the end of the day, y'all got to sit down and have those non-resentment, non-judgmental, non-retaliatory, transparency conversations where you explain how you feel and why you feel that way. And he just sit there and listen. And then let him tell you why he behaved the way he behaved, and you sit there and listen. And if you know that what you're gonna say is gonna trigger him to flip out, let him go first. No matter how bad he talk about you, let him go first. Get it all out. Take notes. Don't interrupt at all. And then when he done, before you about to cry, get you a little sip of some cognac or some shit, swallow them tears, and now tell him what your problem is. So since you listen to him for 45 minutes with no interruptions and no snaps, no judge, no zingers, no nothing, now it's time for you to go all in. Put it all out on the table. Now, once y'all finish doing that, at the end of that venting scenario, y'all need to start figuring out how to resolve the situation so that he no longer has the bitterness that he got. You no longer have the bitterness that you got. That's the only way y'all gonna fix that. You said that you went on autopilot, so y'all are no longer paying each other any attention. He said he's alone in a relationship. You're alone in a relationship. He don't want to leave. You don't want to leave. So schedule time for y'all to do shit together. Get a babysitter. Schedule time to do shit together without the kids. Get 2 babysitters, one to watch the child with autism and one to watch the child without autism. That way you know the kids are safe. And then go and do. He said, no interruption is about. No, it's not. No, it's not. And you know why no interruption is possible? Because everything that you was gonna say, you could have wrote that shit down on a separate piece of paper. You could take notes when your boyfriend is complaining, write that shit down. If you got some shit that you want to talk about, flip the page and write some shit down. These are the talking points that you want to address when you get back in there. Now, I'm going to say that there's very little non-rebuttal that's going to happen when it is your turn to start talking about some shit. But yeah, it is completely possible to have non-interruption. You have non-interruption in the courtroom. You have non-interruption when a therapist is listening to you bitch about your life. You have non-interruption. Sometimes we have non-interruption on this podcast. This non-interruption, it can happen. It can happen. But when people are triggered by what's going on, when you know that you fucked up and somebody pointed out that you fucked up, you're so pissed off at the fact that you got called out that you got to jump in and, oh, well, what about when you fucked up? That's not what this is about. This isn't about if you fucked up or if I fucked up. What this is about is I'm unhappy in our marriage and I'm explaining to you why. You're unhappy in our marriage and you're going to explain to me why. Then we're going to figure out what we can do so that we can stop being unhappy in a relationship. It's not about who did what wrong. But if you're not trying to fix yourself, you are correct. There is no possible way for there not to be an interruption because you're not trying to improve yourself. You're trying to win an argument. If you're trying to win an argument, you're going to jump in whenever you can. You're going to hear a word that allows for you to interject and object and rebuttal. And you're going to dominate the conversation. Every time they say 3 words, you got 5 sentences. They've got the problem, but you're shutting down the conversation so that you can win the argument. They're going to quit trying because you won't listen and learn. And that'll put your partner in a position where they're going to cheat on you with somebody that will listen and learn. Or they're just going to leave you because you won't listen and learn. But any relationship that you're trying to fix, because think about this, OG Kicks, when you're on the job and the boss is having a status review, there's 2 times that you're in a status review: when they're about to give you a raise or a promotion, or when they're about to fire you. If the boss, let's say that we're doing a status review about why we're considering letting you go. You're going to sit there for 30 minutes and you're not going to dive in and say nothing. You got your boss, you've got the store manager, you've got the district manager, you've got the regional manager, and they all sitting in a room with you. You have been there by yourself, and 4 levels of management is sitting in there having this conversation about whether or not to fire you. You're going to sit there and listen to everything they have to say. Then you're going to beg them not to fire you. You're going to promise them you're going to change. You're going to offer different ways that you can show immediate improvement so that they can see the good faith behavior so that you can keep your job. But in a relationship, that's not going to happen because you don't give a fuck about this relationship. You will argue your way to a victory. If your boss was talking about why they didn't give you your full raise, you're going to sit there and listen to all of the things that you didn't do that would have qualified you for a larger pay raise. Then after they're done, you're going to ask, well, what if I did this? And what if I did that? And what if I did the other? Would I then qualify for that raise? That's the exact same way you're supposed to do it in a relationship. Well, if you don't like the way I did X, Y, and Z, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if I did the other? Just simply listening to her bullshit. And I said, well, you're having dinner while he's at the gym. Why don't you push dinner back until he gets home? You said you want to have dinner with him. So why are you not deliberately starting dinner after he gets back? If he's going to be gone for 2 hours, you got 2 hours to make dinner. If dinner is ready when he gets home, you're setting a table while he's taking a shower. When he get out the shower, he got no excuse to sit down at the table and have dinner with you. But if you're going to have dinner and feed the kids, you know he's not home. And you're creating dinner and feeding the children and sometimes not even making him nothing. You are showing him, fuck you, I'm going to take care of the kids. That kind of behavior is passive aggressive, disrespectful behavior because you've known this man for 14 years. You know the man is going to the gym as soon as he get back from work. So why is dinner time while your husband is gone? Why is dinner time doesn't start? In my house, if we're going to eat together, nobody eats until you get back. The food will get cold. We'll fall asleep at the table. But damn it, we're going to wait for your ass to get here. And then we're going to eat. So now what's going to happen is that you're at the gym and you're getting text messages and phone calls from the children talking about I'm hungry. Mommy won't let us eat until you come home. Mommy said daddy's got to get the first bite before the rest of us can eat. I don't know if any of y'all had that family upbringing where the head of the household had to eat before everybody else got a chance to eat. So we all sitting at the table, and if daddy ain't eating, nobody's eating. Now daddy's got to come home to make sure that the kids eat. Because if daddy don't come home and eat, the kids ain't eating. That's how you set the standard to say we're going to do this together. We're not going to do it at all. Steven says, I was already straight up told no one ever gives a full raise. So I just listen angrily to those raise reviews because they be bullshit. But that's my point. You listening to the bullshit, but at the same time, you're not sitting over there cutting in every time they do some bullshit. They're going to give you all of the reasons why. They're not going to give you everything that you believe you're entitled to. But at the end of the day, you're gonna listen, then you're gonna walk out of the room because you know this ain't even where I want to be at for the rest of my life. Fuck this job. Yeah, you're doing a formality, and I'm here for a formality too. Let's just go ahead and get this over with, and I'm gonna walk out of the room because there's nothing that I need to do to improve to get the rest of the fucking raise. So at the end of the day, since there's nothing that I'm supposed to do to get the rest of the fucking raise, I'm just gonna listen to the bullshit and I'm gonna go. He said, I know, I remember that. I snapped the last one. This one just head nods. Well, yeah, because you already know they're not gonna pay you what you're supposed to get. They're not gonna give you everything that you're supposed to get. And instead of them giving you one raise out the year, they broke up your raise and gave you a bunch of small raises throughout the year, which not justifying the shit, but instead of them giving you $1 raise out the whole year once a year, they give you a quarter a raise every quarter. So you get the dollar raise out of the whole year. It don't make you feel better because you know you're worth more than that. But at the end of the day, you're still getting more than what you started with. It's still a 1 year. It's bullshit one way or another. It's bullshit one way or another. But my point is, you listen to the bullshit and then you walk out of the door. You're not cutting them off. You're not you know, challenging every other word they say. You just listen to what they got to say and you walk out of the room and get back to work. Sometimes you just go home and be like, fuck it, I'll come back in a couple days. But you come back and you do your job without a problem. So in a relationship, the same dynamic will still apply. Your partner is going to tell you something you don't like. You don't have to like it, but you're not going to quit the relationship just because you didn't like what your partner says. You're going to listen to what they have to say, not interrupt, not rebuttal, take it in, figure out what you can do to change and improve the dynamic, and then come back to the relationship tomorrow, the next day, the day after that, trying to do better and be better so that your partner doesn't have those complaints about you. But for every woman that wants to be in a relationship where she's in charge and she doesn't have to have that responsibility at the house, she's asking for the wrong kind of relationship because the average man that's supposed to do it away from the house, you already heard a woman earlier tonight that wasn't satisfied with the man that was a stay-at-home man. So if you're not satisfied with the stay-at-home man and you're not satisfied with the go-to-work man, what kind of fucking man do you want? The fuck you pay me guy? That makes no damn sense. Because in that dynamic, you're just really looking for a subsidy. You're not looking for a true family to build a life with. All right, let's go ahead and touch base with the next one. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe, and then also keep mashing those reaction buttons while you're here.
My partner of 10 years cheated. My partner is 32 and I 29, so we have been together for 10 years. We have an
Okay.
amazing 8-year-old together and we were supposed to get married next month. 2 days
Mhm.
ago he told me that he cheated for almost a year. He said doesn't have any feelings for her and doesn't even like her as a person period, but she's pregnant and it could be his. I have no
Okay.
idea what to do or how to hold myself together for my child. I've been a stay-at-home parent off and on for the past few years, but I currently don't have a job. I don't have friends to turn to, I'm not close to any family, and I just feel like I can't even breathe to figure things out.
Oh damn, that was it. Shit, that was short. Okay. I don't know if anybody else was listening to that the way I was listening to that, but as soon as she said what she said about the baby on the way, I was like, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. But yeah, really, ultimately, that's probably the only option that she has is to leave the situation. She's got an 8-year old, he's got a newborn. Uh, so he's only telling his wife because the other girl is pregnant and the other girl's not considering an abortion or adoption with the child. So that means that he's got a new financial responsibility. In this dynamic, he's not claiming that he's not having any more interaction with the woman. And if she gives birth to the child, he's going to be stuck with this woman for the next 18 years. So unless you are going to co parent the children with the other woman, the only way that you can maintain your own sanity is to leave that relationship. You are not married yet. So now's a good time. Your 8-year old is self sustainable. He can go to I think at 8, what's that, like third grade or some shit like that? So he's in school. So you can go to work while he's in school and you be at the house when he's not in school, and y'all can co parent the children and let him do his thing with his new baby mama and behave respectfully in front of the children. Now, I would not recommend marrying the dude now unless you're willing to accept the fact that you are one of two baby mamas that he's going to have to deal with financially, and his responsibilities as a father to both kids requires him to go and spend time with the other woman and her kid. So if you're not going to do one of those as the world turns, guiding light, murder she wrote kind of situations and have both of y'all baby mamas living in the same house with the dude, which technically would be more fiscally responsible because you would have three parents in the house with two kids, save a shit ton of money. Probably a four-bedroom house, right? It would make a lot of sense. Put the kids in one room and each adult has their own room, right? That would work because y'all would save a lot of money on space and parking and everything. But if y'all can't get along together, your best bet is to leave. That's like the quickest answer. And this isn't a situation where I would say, oh, well, you can still work it out, blah, 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 blah. Y'all been together 10 years. You're not married to him. If you would have been married to him, that would have been different. And the reason why it would have been different is because you would have had a legal division of assets since y'all didn't have it under contract. Y'all are not married. You just take what you want, whatever he's not going to stop you from taking, and just move the fuck out. Y'all do not have a legal commitment to one another. When you're married, you have a legal commitment to one another. So you got to put more steps into separation. But when you're not married, you don't have that commitment to one another. Yeah, your kid is 8, but you got 10 years left, right? Do you want to put 10 years into a marriage with his child being 10 when y'all are celebrating your 10-year anniversary? His second child being 10 when y'all celebrating y'all 10-year anniversary. I don't really think that's a good look. I think the resentment that you would hold for the entire marriage would make the marriage miserable for you more than him. Just saying. All right, let's touch base with the next one.
I'm genuinely not sure if my mom saw something she wasn't supposed to, and I'm mortified. I was in the shower when my mom came into my room. My bathroom is in my room. She told me she had a heating pad for me, for a stomachache I have. She left my bathroom for a few seconds, then came back saying, I put it in your bed. However, at that exact moment, I remembered I had left an adult toy under the covers. So I waited until I heard her leave my room, then ran to see. She put the heating pad under my pillow. But if you lifted up the covers, the adult toy was in the middle of the bed. I'm really afraid she saw it. I know the heating pad was under the pillow, but what if she had tried to put it under the covers first, saw the other thing there, then put the pad under my pillow to make it seem like she didn't see it? I'm very unsure of how to go from here. I am so embarrassed and mortified.
Steven, what do you think? Well, short answer is that every adult's got something going on, and every adult has been a kid. Every adult has been through puberty, and every adult has had that young adult age where they had stuff that they wasn't supposed to have, that their parents wasn't supposed to know about. And back when we was in them young ages, if your parents walked in on you, because you had some parents that would peek through the crack of the door and see what you had going on before they knocked on the door. And if they saw you doing something you ain't had no business doing, they wouldn't even knock on the door because you was in there by yourself taking care of your own business. You wasn't in there with somebody else. So, and you got some parents, they'll have a whole conversation about it while you in there finishing your business. The mom will come and tell the dad, ooh, he in there taking care of his business. So everybody didn't experience that at some point in their life. There's nothing for you to be ashamed of, truly. I would recommend that you don't say shit because if they're not going to bring it up, let it be an invisible elephant in the room kind of situation. But in the future, you should probably put all of your perceived unmentionables in more appropriate locations that are not easily visible by people who are going to let themselves into your room and do stuff in your room. You can get a safe with a lock and key. You can find a different place. Like we used to hide stuff in shoe boxes back in the 50s and 60s. Men used to have Hustler magazines in shoe boxes in the closet on the top shelf in the corner. In the 90s, we had DVDs that were in a labelless container that was somewhere, and not DVDs. In the 90s, we had VHS tapes that didn't have labels on them, that was unmarked and in the collection of DVD tape or VHS tapes. Then in the early 2000s, we had DVDs, and those were unmarked DVDs that were also embedded in all the music. So you'll have everything labeled except for 3 or 4 different VHS tapes or 3 or 4 different DVD tapes. Those were inappropriate tapes. Uh, and then like in modern times, we have like the internet. Well, not anymore because the laws have been passed recently where you got to put your ID up to watch dirty videos online. So if you don't have a subscription somewhere, you're not going to be watching dirty videos online. So it is normal for people to do stuff like that. So I would just say, put your stuff somewhere else. But that was wild. You like, my mama called it.
1 week married, I found out cheating. We have been
Here we
together
go.
for years. When we were dating, I found out about a friendship with a girl he went to a trip together. We broke up over it because he didn't tell me about it. After years, we talked and he told me nothing ever happened between them. They were just friends and he kept talking with her until I told him that I would leave him because this hurted me. He blocked her and excluded her from everything. I believed on him and I left my scholarship and jobs to get married with him in another country and build a life together. We ended up getting married. With 1 week of marriage, I started to get the documentation process to live in Europe with him. We got drunk one night and he told me everything, showed me all the chats. He didn't delete as he said before. I found out he actually had feelings for her and they made a promise of getting married if they didn't found anyone until certain age. He had her contact with a heart and a short name and he would always post pictures with her without she have to ask. Completely the opposite of how he is with me. I don't know what to do. I am alone in the country. I don't have money or documentation to be in here since my documents were depending on our relationship. I don't know what to do.
All right, hold on a second. First, he said lots of rewinding happened on Jurassic Park tape back in the day. You ain't never lying because you remember back in the day when we used to take a little piece of paper, put it into the thing so that we could record over some shit. You'll have like the beginning of it might be Jurassic Park, but like 10 minutes in, it'd be dirty videos. You might have a thing that's like high school graduation, and then 30 minutes in, it's dirty videos. That's kind of how stuff used to be back in the day. Before we had the internet. Yeah, and the tape would be around so much that the tape broke that you had to get a new tape. That's what I was trying to say. Like the girl was sitting over there tripping because she make it seem like, oh, I got caught. Who hasn't? At least once in their life. Who hasn't either walked in on somebody doing something to themselves they wasn't supposed to do, or had been walked in on by somebody who was doing something to themselves that they wasn't supposed to be doing. It's happened at least once in every person's life, one or the other. So, uh, being a parent, if you've been on either side of the fence on a situation, now that you're the person that is looking at the next generation going through the same thing, you ain't gonna say shit. You're gonna be like, nope, it was bound to happen at some point, and walk out. You know, the son bitch was probably in the middle of the bed because mom saw it hanging off the edge of the bed and moved it to the middle of the bed like we don't want this to hit the floor. And then stuck the heat pad up underneath the thing. Probably told herself, your stomach wouldn't hurt if you wouldn't use the big one. You should have used the small one. All right, now let's talk about this woman. This woman that's wilding out. Because the dude says something about he gonna show her everything. Okay, check this out. You got some folks that be making marriage pacts with folks. Oh, and this is a pity party pact. If we don't find somebody, then we'll fall back on one another when we get into our late 60s or whatever the case may be. So y'all be friends for life, where one of y'all wanted the other person in high school, but y'all gonna stay friends for life. And the person who always says no will say, well, look, if I don't find the person that I'm looking for by the time I make such and such age, then I'm gonna tell you yes. Now, the other person who's waiting on that age to get there, that person always looking for the alternative because the one they want got a time clock on. Now, this woman here, she met the dude who's dating a chick who's got the time clock. This person is his first choice. She is his second choice. Some people will say, leave him, girl. You don't never want to be number two. Nobody over the age of 18 is the first choice. Nobody. You are the next choice. Not always the second choice. By the time you're 30 or 40 years old, you have chosen 5 or 10 people. Somebody else have chosen 15 or 20 people. When you find your next choice, this might be the last one, but that's not the first one. He says, I like who likes me if I like them. Right, but my point, that's my point. So if him and this girl they get married, right? She getting her citizenship based on the fact that she marrying this dude, moving into his country, this, that, and the third, just because she's seen a bunch of text messages. This is why I tell women, y'all need to cut that bullshit out. We're going through men's phones because what you don't know will not hurt your relationship. Truth be told. And as soon as I say that, females gonna be like, well, what if he got an STD? What if he got a child? What if this? What if that? Look, if your relationship is being terminated based on a history Google search or a outdated text message, your relationship would have been fine had you not found that information. You're not sitting here talking about how you got sick, you came back with 14 days worth of penicillin, you asked your husband what happened, and then he tell you the story. That's not what you're talking about. You're not sitting over here like the other woman where the man coming back talking about something, he got some confessions because his girl on the side is pregnant with the child and she gonna keep it. That's a different scenario. You're talking about a dude who's telling you that full disclosure, there was other stuff in the past, but it's over now. You didn't need to know that shit. You didn't need to know that shit. He called himself being honest. And you don't appreciate the honesty because you found out shit that you wish you never knew. But it does not change the way things will be. It only changes the way you behave about it. So had you stayed your ass out of his phone, you would have never found anything that would have changed your position about this man. And then your relationship would have been fine. Women are not secure enough to handle that, but that's the way things should be. Stay your ass out of my phone, and I will stay my ass out of yours. The only thing that will be hid on a phone is a playlist that cannot be played in public. Well, technically, there isn't a playlist that, well, there's a video playlist that can't be played in public, but there isn't a music playlist that can't be played in public. But typically, if you've got a playlist, it shouldn't be a playlist where you're the star and you have multiple co-stars where you record yourself with each one of your exes and you've got that in a playlist on your cell phone. You're doing too much. But if you're that kind of person when she met you and she stayed with you for 5 years, got married, moved to another country with you, at the end of the day, she must go ahead and stay with you because she knew what she was getting into when she got with you. He said that R&B must stay hidden. Man, that R&B should be blasting loud in the car on the way going someplace fun. You know what I mean? The dynamic that w- we have the type of culture right now where women want full disclosure for their own personal comfort. And I don't deny that they should have that under the condition that that full disclosure comes with no resentment, no retaliation, and no judgment. Therefore, if you're unwilling to maintain the same behavior after the fact that you would have had before the fact, then you should never put yourself in a position of full disclosure. If you can't behave like a judge just about to clock out, that all of what happened in the courtroom stay in the courtroom and what we about to go do right now ain't got nothing to do with that. If you can't behave that way, then at the end of the day, you cannot have full disclosure. It is discretionary disclosure where I tell you if I'm willing to handle the bullshit you're about to give me right now. I tell you if there's no conflict involved with it. But if I don't tell you, it's for a reason. And you don't need to know what that reason is. All you need to know is that our relationship is fine as long as the information that you have doesn't bring chaos to the relationship. And as long as the information that you're not receiving doesn't jeopardize and damage the relationship over time simply because you don't know, is if long as that's not the situation, you don't need to know. I know some women gonna say, oh, well, what if I had a dude on the side? That's gonna compromise the relationship, whether I know about it or not. But if for some reason You was texting somebody on TikTok and you cut that bullshit out before I found out about it. Telling me is not going to make me feel better. Not doing it again will preserve the relationship. Improving the way you treat me because you regret the way you was behaving in secret without my knowledge, I start seeing an improvement in a relationship, not knowing why it's happening, but I appreciate the fact that the relationship is improving. Had you told me that the reason why the relationship is improving is because of your guilt from your infidelity, I no longer value the improvement in the relationship. So there's a lot of times where information could have just been withheld and you could have just kept your relationship fine. You got people who 20 years into the marriage will divorce their wife because she cheated on them before they got married, but you stayed together for 20 fucking years after that. Matter what she did 20 years ago. What matters is what she's doing today. If she regretted what she did 20 years ago and she kept that with her for 20 years and she was the best wife you could ever have because of her guilt from her infidelity, at the end of the day, that's the consequences of your perfect marriage. But now that you know what compelled her to not be deceitful is her guilt from not getting caught. At the end of the day, you're not going to respect the good woman that she became after she learned from her mistakes. So a lot of the times, instead of knowing everything about everything, just know about the shit that matters. Know about the shit that's going to get you through the day, tomorrow, next week, next year. Know about what's directly impacting your relationship right now. So if you got an STD or a child on the way, that's going to impact the relationship. But if you was in Bill Cosby limo in 1996, that ain't got nothing to do with me. If you was with Mystical at that house party, that ain't got nothing to do with me. If you was at the Diddy party in 2017, that ain't got nothing to do with me. It's in the past. What you did, you did. Now, what you're about to do with me, that's what matters. Now, a lot of women are going to say, well, in that case, what about my body count? Your virtue is still your virtue. Because, I mean, how many bodies you got is going to be as important to me as how many lives I've taken. He said, I don't want to follow Lil Bill. You may not, but at the end of the day, if you dated a girl today because she was cute, she was respectful, she was obedient, she was always on time, and she never went places with people she didn't know because of what she used to go through in the past. As long as you don't know what's going on in that past, you'll never know that Lil Bill was the reason why she's behaving so well. You will find that because she told you what she went through in the past, that you changed the way you look at her. And that is the reason why that's one of the biggest reasons why women don't want to talk about their body count. Because once you find out that her body count is in the 4 digits, you don't respect her anymore. When you find out that her body count is in the 3 digits, you don't respect her anymore. When you find out that her body count is above 10, you don't respect her anymore. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of women are uncomfortable about their weight and their body count, because those are two numbers that the higher it gets, the less men want them. And that's the same thing with men and their paychecks. The lower it gets, the less women want them. So if a man don't make enough money, he's not willing to tell you how much he makes. If he makes too much money, he's not willing to tell you how much he makes. But if he makes a reasonable amount of money, he ain't got no problem with bragging about it. A woman that's only had two or three, she ain't got no problem with saying two or three. You got some women that won't admit to all the people that she been with, but she'll only count certain ones, right? Which means that it's more than that. Rule of thumb is whatever man say divided by three, and whatever woman say multiply by three, because people don't tell the truth. So if a man say 10, it was probably three, and if a woman said 10, it was probably 30. That's the rule of thumb, you know. So truth is, your past can hurt your present and destroy your future. So if your past is not directly impacting your present, full disclosure about your past is not necessary. That's why when we be talking about those first dates and second dates and third dates, that you're not supposed to be going into detail about your past relationships. You're not supposed to be going into detail about all the things that used to go wrong with all of your exes. You're supposed to be talking about who I am today, now that I'm with you. I want to be with, or no, who I want to be like And if I'm with you, how you fit in to the future. That's the stuff you're supposed to be talking about right now. Who am I now? Where do I see myself in the future? And how do you fit into that? Where who I was don't matter. In a way it does, but in a way it don't. And that's gonna be another dynamic because you're gonna say like people who catch certain charges. If you on a registry, not too many people gonna want to talk to you. You could have got on the registry by accident. You could have got on the registry because you were 17 and she was 15 and a half and her mama was being irresponsible. But now you're 50 and because you're on the registry from when you was a child, women are going to treat you worse than what they already treat men. But because you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to talk about the one mistake you made in the past. Now you're overly cautious. You're overly respectful. You're overly courteous. And you're always consentful because you want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. You learn from past mistakes, but your past will haunt you. You will forever be condemned for a mistake in the past, right? So you have to. A lot of the times, past is important, but a lot of the times, the past built the person that is in the present. So I want to know who you are after what you've been through in the past, and then who you plan to be from here, right? That's really the most important parts. So when women start digging into a man's past and they find out where this man came from and what all he survived in order to be who he is today, not all the time is she gonna like what she finds. What if she find that the pastor of the church used to be the leader of a mob boss or a criminal organization? What if she find that the CEO of this Fortune 500 company used to be a hitman? What if she finds that this school teacher used to be a Chippendale dancer? When you go digging for stuff in the past, most people have what we call skeletons in the closet. There's something there that they would prefer you don't know. Less people are concerned about certain things than others, but there's a lot of scenarios in your past that you just don't want people to know about. And it's best that that information stays in the past because as you feel uncomfortable about that knowledge, is as people will treat you differently because of that exact same knowledge. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe. I think we got one or two more. Let's see what's going on here.
I made a big mistake talking to a random guy online, now being blackmailed. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I'm 18, a girl from America, and was bored this morning browsing random video chats. Most were boring. I think I saw a few YouTubers/TikTokers. But this one guy was very cute, and we instantly got along really well. We talked a lot and found we had lots in common. I fell for him easily and fortunately, and then it got intimate, and we started doing stuff we shouldn't have. I was so stupid. Afterwards, we exchanged info, and it turns out he recorded the whole thing and said if I don't do and send him what he wants, he will post it online. What the fuck do I do? Can I take legal action? I've been crying so much and thinking about running to a different country.
Woo! Well, the internet is in every country, so it there's nowhere that you can go that that video ain't gonna go viral and somebody's gonna see it. Um, can you report him to the police? Yes, you can. Will that stop him from posting the video? No, it will not. Um, if you learn from this bad decision, you will no longer do anything over the video calls because you got to understand technology. I can record this without having to touch my screen. So everything that everybody does and everything that everybody says, I could record this directly onto my computer because you have the features on the device to record stuff. Most cell phones have the same thing. You have record my desktop, record my screen, the features on your cell phones and on your computers that allows for the entire conversation and every action on the video to be recorded and downloaded and saved for later playback. So, with this advancements of technology here in 2026, it makes absolutely no sense that you would do anything inappropriate on a video call that you would not want to be replayed for the world to see. You would not do anything, you would not send any photos, don't do anything in a picture and then send it to somebody. that you are not okay with the world seeing. If you don't have the mentality of an OnlyFans girl who doesn't care if she goes viral, she encourages herself to go viral because she makes more money doing that. If that's not your mentality, if you're modest, you're not supposed to be doing things that could go viral. That is inappropriate behavior. Matter of fact, a lot of the times you might want to screen the room and make sure that the room that you're in doesn't have hidden video cameras in it before you start getting intimate with somebody in their house, because you can't never tell. While you guys are supposed to be consenting adults and this, that, and the third, when you go to somebody else's house, you're playing on their turf. They might have video cameras in the teddy bears. They might have video cameras on a bookshelf. They might have video cameras behind a wall. They might have video cameras behind a TV. The clock might be a video camera. They might have a video camera in a wall plug somewhere, and you'll be sitting over here thinking that you two are having a private moment, and you two are actually having a moment that is being recorded from 30 different angles in his bedroom because it's at his house, right? So, truth be told, you need to find out what kind of person that you're dealing with before you start doing stuff like this. But then and this is going to be one of those things where when we tell y'all, hey, as much as society doesn't promote this in Western culture here in America, is that either sex until marriage or like give it 2 to 5 years before you guys start knocking boots. You can find out what kind of dude you're with within the first year of hanging around him strictly platonic before you find out that, oh well, I'm going to sleep with this guy. So you shouldn't be doing anything naughty. You shouldn't be taking off your clothes. You shouldn't be doing anything with this dude until you are ready to commit to him long term. And when you get to that level, then whatever happens, happens. But for a complete stranger you met online, you didn't meet him in person, and y'all hit it off within the first day or two, and now all of a sudden you got inappropriate videos going back and forth, and you're gonna say, "Oh, he's gonna blackmail me now." Well, I just said it not too long ago. You can only be extorted or blackmailed if you're doing stuff you're not proud of. Now, if you're the kind of person who can get two shits, it's like, well, go ahead, put it up on the internet. What's the worst that could happen? Yeah, a woman's reputation could be terminated, be just like flush. But if you knew that before you got started, I tell you guys, well, I don't tell you guys this all the time, but I have told you guys before that you are supposed to, first and foremost, do what you know is right. Stand up for what you believe in by any means necessary. And the third thing, that is the most important thing, is to accept the consequences for your actions before you perform the actions. That is the three things that you must always live by. And if you have at least those three core pillars, right, you should not fail. Because while doing what you know is right doesn't always mesh well with stand up for what you believe in, because a lot of the times the thing you believe in isn't always right. But if you accept consequences of your actions, right or wrong, if you accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action, at the end of the day, you got no regrets. So you did something naughty, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna post it up online." Do it then. Let's see how many views I get. He's not getting nothing out of posting the stuff online. It don't affect you at all. He has no control over you. But if you are afraid of what people will think about you, now that he's going to post his video online, you will do more with him for him now than what you would have done had you behaved in the fucking first place. So accepting the consequences of your actions, post that video. I dare you. A triple double dog dare you. Right? And since you got some of his information, at least a direct phone number and some type of fictitious name, you've actually got the ability to report. So once the video does go viral, they can track the IP address and go and arrest the person who posted the shit. Because you're in America, a private conversation, including the video, most states are a two-party consent state, if not a one-party consent state. So if you didn't consent to him recording you in what was supposed to be a private, intimate conversation between the two of you, yeah, that's a criminal offense. So if you got enough information to get him arrested for that, if he does post it, you don't threaten to put him in jail for it. You dare him to post it up online. And then not only do you get him arrested on the criminal side, you sue him and get restitution for ruining your reputation. The same way Shannon Sharp lost NBC and what, almost $50 million for his ex-wife. That's how you should be playing this game. All right, let's go ahead and touch base. What I do believe the last one for the night.
My sister slept with my boyfriend. Hello,
Yeah.
I'm here looking for help. I am 18, had a boyfriend who we will call B. B and I had been dating for 2 years before we broke up. Everything seemed very good. He was my best friend before we started dating, so Eve known him for years. I have a sister 19F, who we will call H. I was very hesitant to bring B around her, because she was always very flirty to B. But eventually I decided that B loved me, and I didn't need to worry. I was wrong. I went out of town for a few days to stay with my pregnant friend. While I was with my friend, I noticed B had turned off his location. He also
Yep.
wasn't answering my texts or calls. So I
Yep.
called my sister. I heard B talking in the background of the call, so I questioned her. She denied B
Yep.
was there. Later that
Yep.
night B texted me and was apologizing, then blocked me. The next day he unblocked me and told me he had slept with H and it was a mistake. So Reddit,
Mm.
how do I confront my sister? I know she is going to lose her
Uh,
shit and scream at me. H lives with me, which only makes it worse.
so you read that, and then you want to know like how do you deal with this shit? Okay, so I got no excuses for this dude, but I am gonna tell you that the first mistake that you made was knowing that your sister wanted to sleep with your boyfriend, and you allowed for your sister and your boyfriend to be in the same place at the same time without you. You are supposed to have the type of relationship where you can trust your partner to not do stuff like that. But if you was in the same type of situation where your mom wanted to sleep with your boyfriend, you would not leave your boyfriend at your mama house while you go off to out of town to go to work or whatever. Because they're gonna do it. They're gonna try your boyfriend. Now, the younger your boyfriend is, because you say you 18 or whatever, the younger your boyfriend is, the more likely he's gonna try to get laid as often as possible. The older your boyfriend gets, the more often he's gonna say no. Right? So ultimately, to protect your relationship, you're supposed to make sure that your boyfriend and your sister are not in the same place at the same time. If you can't take your boyfriend with you, and you have to trust him to be in the same neighborhood as your sister, and he's gonna go and smash your sister, that's not the right man for you. So ultimately, you need to just go ahead and leave him. However, before you even went on this trip, you knew that your sister and your boyfriend had chemistry. Instead of you accepting the fact that you think he loves you, because he could have loved you and still wanted to smash her at the same time. And after he has smashed her, because all we got to do is hit it once. We don't got to have like recreational with this person on a regular basis. We just want to sample it a lot of the times. We're not going to leave the girl that we with, but we want to sample the sister, sample the mama, sample the auntie, and then like variety. So the fact is that if you're not okay with that, once you knew that the sister would give it up if the moment arose, you were supposed to establish before you go out of town if you got the kind of man that's not gonna try that. Now, if he's not objective to what she's got going on, at the end of the day, you don't have a stable relationship. And if the only barrier between him and infidelity is you present, you might as well just let that relationship. You should have just gone ahead and let him start dating your sister and just backed out of the situation from the beginning. Because for you to try to compete with your sister for a man, and he gonna sleep with both of y'all. At the end of the day, that's not for you, right? So now you're asking me, you're asking all of us, you didn't read these text messages from him. You want to know like, what do you do now? Well, shit, you leave him. You 18. You can find you a 45-year-old man that won't do that. You know, and I know women are like 45. Ew, no, yes, 50% of your age plus seven more often than not. Which technically would be like 30 if you're 18. But it's the principle of fact that um you can go find you a older, more mature man that's not going to sleep with your sister. I remember back in the day when I was dating a girl, she used to be a swinger, and her sister was part of the swinger group too. And she had her sister come over to the house, and I was getting ready to go to bed. I had just came in from work, took a shower, got ready for bed, and I'm not appropriately dressed for bed, or at least that's what I would prefer. Now, since I'm not going to be appropriately dressed for bed, I told my girl, I said, look, hey, take your sister with you. Take her with you. I don't want to have to consider temptation. Take her with you. Don't leave her in here with me. I'm about to go to sleep. Take her with you. Now, as much as I would have turned her sister inside out, the fact of the matter is that I prevented myself from being in that situation because I let her know that leaving her here with me is not a good idea for me. So take her with you. But not a lot of men got that kind of self control. A lot of men are not going to say nothing, and then let's see what happens. So at the end of the day, they're hoping that they're going to get laid. And a lot of the times they're hoping that they're not going to get caught. But a lot of times after they do it, the guilt comes in. And then in some situations, blackmail and extortion comes in because if he sleeps with the little sister and now the little sister's like, oh, well, I'm going to tell my sister. Now all of a sudden, she's got a hold on you because you don't want your relationship to be damaged because you don't want her to tell your girlfriend that you slept with your sister. This is how blackmail and extortion comes about. You did something you wasn't supposed to do. You knew you wasn't supposed to do that. You did it anyway, and you're not willing to accept the consequences of that bad choice. And again, you got the guilt. The guilt is another thing, is that you're overwhelmed with guilt to the fact that you confess because you can't stand yourself because you knew that you wasn't supposed to do that. You did it anyway. And it sickens you that you were willing to do that because you had higher hopes for yourself than your actual decision making skills. In both situations, you got to recognize that if it's not going to end well as a consequence of taking advantage of this observation, don't do it. I told you guys about Mystical. Take Mystical, for example. He went to jail for the same charge 3 times, got 10-year sentence each time. The first time you got caught up like that, bro, you are not supposed to be at house parties with females where you can catch that charge the second time. And if you ain't learned off the first 2 times, there was not supposed to be a third. You should be a monk. You should be in all dude exclusive environments because, I mean, you spent 10, 20 years in that type of environment already. You should be in sober only consent sign form situations before interactions occur so that you don't catch a charge kind of moments. Because otherwise, you're going to re-experience the same thing. You got to learn from your past mistakes. If you don't learn from your past mistakes, you're never going to grow as a human being. You and I told you before, accept the consequences of your actions before you perform the action. You don't walk into a courthouse with an AR-15 without being drew on by cops. Don't matter if it's your Second Amendment constitutional right. What matters is that it's socially unacceptable. You can have a permit for it. It doesn't matter. It is socially unacceptable. And since it is socially unacceptable, you know before you get out of the car, you leave all your firearms in the car. Plain and simple. People who know they ride with a seatbelt on because they don't want to get the ticket. It ain't about driving safe. It's because you don't want to pay for the fucking ticket. Right? People pay to get their insurance to keep from losing their license. They pay to keep their registration to keep from losing their license. They don't do it because they like paying the money to register their car. They don't do it because they like paying for car insurance. They do it because they don't want to pay the fine. The consequences of not doing it is more severe than actually doing it. And they accept that, right? Those of us who file taxes every year do it because we don't want to deal with the alternatives, right? So we should never put ourselves in a situation where we're doing in the moment YOLO style behavior. You only live once, fear of missing out, and creating memories that will ruin the rest of our future. Whatever you're about to decide to do should not compromise your long term goals, whether it's in this relationship, in this career, whatever you set for your retirement. Your short term decision making should not negatively impact your long term goals. If sleeping with your girlfriend's sister could ruin your relationship, don't do it. If sending nudes to a stranger could be posted on the internet, don't do it. If cheating on your wife with another woman can cause her to get pregnant and now you've got a newborn, well, your 8-year-old son is home with your wife, don't do it. These are immediate consequences that destroys the rest of your life, right? All right. Today was a short show. That's all I got for you guys. I'm going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. Fellas, I give y'all this information to make y'all higher value men, not just to improve your income, but also to improve your decision making skills, because decision making skills was the biggest thing for the day. And everybody had that was when they was telling us their story. Uh, but you guys got to figure out what's going on in your lives that's inside of your control. Find the things that you don't like and then proactively change them. It's not about blaming the other person that's involved. It's about figuring out what's going wrong in your life that you don't like and changing the way you approach that so that you can get better results out of that situation. Then navigate around the things that are outside of your control. Your partner's behavior is outside of your control, and you can navigate around your partner's behavior and maintain a relationship if you want to, right? But you have to want to. Now, ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can become a higher value person by prioritizing your 20 and 30-year goals. Reverse engineering, that's what you're going to do today to be able to positively impact your ability to be successful. If you keep your eyes and ears open, like you heard a lot of women tonight that chose the wrong guy, wasn't doing the right thing early on in a relationship, you still gave them 10 to 15 years of your life. Now you regret it. If you paid attention in the beginning to the personality and characteristics, the drive, the ambition, the dedication, motivation, admiration, and integrity of the man, and how he's able to fulfill his own goals and dreams. Because he ain't shit like the second guy who was living off of his wife. When you met him, he wasn't shit. You married him anyway, and he wasn't shit. And now you mad that he ain't shit, and he's your husband. You chose that from the gate. You have to recognize what you're getting yourself into. And then if his goals mess with your goals, then and y'all got long-term goals together, then y'all can find yourself living a happy life together. Y'all both have long-term satisfaction goals instead of short-term gratification goals. Y'all live a happy life together. But if one of you is operating on short-term gratification and the other one's operating on long-term satisfaction, you guys are never going to last. You're going to linger as long as you're content with one another. You're going to linger as long as it's convenient for one another, but you're not going to last. At some point, short-term gratification will become inconvenient. And that's when you guys are going to fall apart. So you got to pay attention to this in the beginning so that you're not giving 10, 15, 20 years to a relationship that wasn't supposed to work from the beginning. Right? Now, I want a special shout out to OG Kick, Steven, Michael, FX Trader, Unc Andy. I think I got all of them. Aztec. I really appreciate y'all for showing love every time y'all come to the show. Y'all are such valuable members of the membership. We've got some stuff set up for y'all for tomorrow. We have put up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. Make sure that you go and check the channel and hit the notification buttons for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because just in case you missed it, it is up there now. I had put it up there yesterday, but I want to make sure that you guys double check and make sure that you got it all up there, because I just realized that Wednesday was missing when I was doing the shows this weekend. So double check and make sure that you got the rest of this week, because we got all of this week and all of next week verifiedly up there, except for next week, Monday and Tuesday, because Tuesday next week is supposed to be us giving you guys the dividend rotation strategy as we follow it for the months of August and September. And next week, Monday, we're going to be following up on some new information based on how politics are changing going into August. So you're going to see that Monday and Tuesday are missing, but the rest of the week is there. So I want you guys to make sure that you hit those like buttons, subscribe buttons, click on the notification buttons for each one of those shows. Have push notifications turned on your YouTube app so that you're notified when we do get ready to start. And if I got any updates at the top of the hour, you will be there at the top of the hour when we do those updates. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not mounted on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.